Hello, and welcome to I Am Dad podcast with your fatherhood authority, Kenneth Braswell. 30 minutes of wisdom, information, resources, and nuggets to help you on your fatherhood journey. Or maybe you're just curious and want to hear some real talk about fatherhood, family, and the minds of men. Well, guess what? We got you too. Sit back, grab your pad and pen, and maybe even bring a little something to sip on. Enjoy 30 straight minutes of fatherhood, family, and fun with the fatherhood authority, Kenneth Braswell.
And mental health for men in the month of June, we thought that this webinar would be very timely and important. And so I guess I'm going to kick off the first leg of this important conversation with Kenneth Braswell and having a conversation around dental health. And for whatever reason, most of the time, you guys, when we talk about health, we end up talking about physical health, mental health, but we don't necessarily talk about dental care as it relates to Black men. And I think Kenneth Braswell has a critically important message, particularly for Black men as it relates to dental care. He'll get an opportunity to share his own story in brief. We also have some, very targeted questions to ask Kenny, particularly as it relates to dental health as it relates to prevention and maintenance. And then we'll definitely be able to hear from folks in the building any questions or comments that you have. And so, Kenny, super quickly, man, just share with the audience, and this particular webinar will be archived so other folks will get an opportunity to listen to the archive version and be able to participate. Talk to us about why you believe many Black men ignore dental care.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I think that we ignore dental care primarily because we ignore all care. Growing up, there were no great models of men who demonstrated a concern about their health. The old joke was, men will work till it falls off or it doesn't work. Anything other than that is no excuse for not showing up, in the lives of your family, your children, and in the world. And specifically as a man, you don't show up with any vulnerabilities. And so because of that backdrop, health in general for me was just never a priority. The irony in it is that, for the dental space, it took me some time to realize that my dental journey is connected to my overall health journey, right? And so the dental part of it has always been the lesser of importance in my health life. It was, can I breathe because I had asthma? Can I, run far because I was obese? Will I live long because I'm Black? All of those kinds of things. And dental was just not something that was on the radar. And part of that was because of the learned lessons growing up, in Brooklyn, in New York, in a single mother household, with someone who was trying to do all the things she could to pay the bills. And dental insurance wasn't something that was at the top of priority, for us. The only time we had to go to the dentist was when we had a toothache and when we needed something extracted, right? And so that became my behavior when I got older. If it hurt, take it out, And what I learned is over time, I looked in my mouth and more of my teeth was gone. And so that creates a bad habit because it was always about, never about prevention. Always about reactive actions to whatever the pain happened to be at the time. And then lastly, I'll end here, David, is that health insurance was never a priority for me as an adult. I didn't understand not working a good job in a good company with good benefits was something that was part of finding employment, right? For us, it was just about going to work to pay the bills. And health bills not being part of that, and certainly dental not being a part of the conversation. I don't remember in any of the jobs that I was in where they extracted the difference between having health insurance, dental insurance, and optical insurance, right? Which is a whole nother conversation about that. And then there is the varying degrees of not being able to find great plans in all of those areas, which just to me exacerbates the bad habits.
Thank you, Kenny. So Kenny, give folks in the building just kind of a brief overview of what your dental journey has been like over the last couple of months. Just give folks just a sense of
Mm.
what your dental journey has been like over the last couple of months.
Yeah, the fast forward version is in somewhere around January, in the house working as I often do in front of the computer, grinding in the middle of the night, and this excruciating pain just kind of hit my face. I had no idea what it was, but I know it was coming from my mouth area. And so much so that it just doubled me over at the computer. And so finally, when I got enough to get up and go into the bathroom to kind of open my mouth to see what it was, I realized that the tooth that it was coming from literally had a hole in it. And I was like, I had never seen it before. And so the next morning I found an urgent care dentist and went in. um, they did some x-rays on my mouth and determined that I had a bacteria in my mouth that was literally eating at my gums, which was then softening my teeth and tearing the enamel off of my teeth and exposing my nerves to, once we know when those nerves are exposed to anything, cold, hot, sugar, any of those things, you don't want that problem. You don't want that drama in your life. And so she came back and she said, I got good news and I got bad news. And I said, well, give me the bad news first. And she said, the bad news is we can't save any of your teeth. She said, this is going to be an ongoing problem. There's nothing that's going to correct this. The only thing that we can do is extract everything out of your mouth. And so she said, the good news is that dentistry has come far enough along that we can replace all of your teeth, better than ever. As if you knew the $6 million man, we could put something in that's going to last longer than you're going to last, in your mouth. But it's going to be a journey. It's going to be about a year-long journey. You're literally going to have to learn how to eat again. You're going to have to learn how to speak again. You're going to have to learn how to do a lot of different things that you took for granted. One of the comical things that I laugh about now is I'm still trying to learn how to whistle again. I was a great whistler and now I can't whistle. And I'm trying to figure out, how to do that. And so they extracted all of those out, and it took about 30 days for the healing to take place. I literally could not eat. So as a result of that, I lost a lot of weight. Um, so the good thing, bad thing, right? Good thing, bad thing, teeth is like having to be taken out your mouth. Good thing, all of this weight that I've been trying to lose for years now is like shredding off of my body because I'm not eating as much. The other good thing about that is that because of it, I changed my eating habits. Eating smaller portions now, eating right now, not drinking carbonated drinks, not drinking drinks with high levels of sugar in it, all of those kinds of things. And then as a result of that, just recently, just to kind of round it to the end, my doctor just took me off my high blood pressure medicine. My A1C is now in normal ranges. My vitamin D deficiency is back where it should be. My cholesterol is coming down. So on a bad side of it is that I had to go through all of that to get to the right side of it. But there is something good in it because what it does is focuses you on your total health again. And again, I make this connection between um, our overall health and then our dental health and other things. There are things that can happen in your life that bring attention to your overall health. And so now, I have full dentures in the mouth. The mouth is completely healed. The stents that are in there are healing and in place. And in August, I have to go back in to have the permanents placed in my mouth, and so those would be the permanents. And um, so again, bad thing, bad habits. You don't want the drama. I keep telling people. And listen, the thing that hit me was something that my dentist told me. And she says, I'm going to say this to you. She says, it's not going to do anything for you now. She says, but I just want to put what you're going through in perspective. And she said, you know, it only takes about 7 minutes a day to take care of your teeth, right? And I said, what? She said, it only takes 7 minutes a day. So you are sitting here with all of this pain and drama you're going through. And all you had to do was invest 7 minutes in the morning and at night in your life, and you wouldn't be here today. And that just put a whole different perspective on what's going on with men and the priority that we do or don't put on our health across the board.
And so thank you, Kenny. Talk a little bit about insurance, man, because you mentioned insurance earlier. Talk about, if you can, some of the challenges you had in terms of being able to access your insurance to handle these major dental procedures that you had to get done.
So total life, total health, right? And so I'm talking about this total health, which includes, you know, all of these things, our physical health, dental health, our optical health. And then we're not even talking about our mental health, because that's a whole nother piece of the work, right? But then there is this kind of total life thing, right? We go to work to pay the bills, to adhere to our responsibilities and do all of those other things. But we don't take into consideration that having a good job or having a viable business that allows you to get great health care is just as important as the other things. And the healthcare system now is changing so much. I was just telling someone the other day that the way that the healthcare system is now billing us is literally ridiculous. And I cannot understand how people are surviving under what's taking place. Literally, I have, I think we have the best insurance that you can have. And I'll go to an appointment and they don't even ask you for copays anymore. Like at the office, I get home 2 weeks later, I'll get an email that says, oh, you owe $500. And I'm like, well, what is this for? I got insurance, I got copay. Oh, the insurance company says that they're not paying for this. Oh, so no one calls, you guys don't check, you don't ask the question, you just send me a $500 bill and you ask me to pay it. And then what happens if I don't pay it? Then I don't get future care. And so the healthcare system is so erratic right now, from all areas, whether it is the pharmaceutical part of it, where it is the medicines and buying the medicines. Like literally, I had one of my medicines that I was getting at cost. And I went in one day and the lady says, it's $150. And I said, $150? Like, what are you talking about? She says, oh, she says they only pay for this medicine for 4 months. And then after the 4 months, you have to pay. I said, but no one said that to me. She said, well, your primary doctor should have told you that. I said, but they didn't tell me that. And so I say all that to say that I'm fortunate because I'm in a position, a financial position, to be able to absorb those costs. But for many people, they're not in position to absorb that kind of a hit, 2 or 3 times a month, depending on how often you're going to see the doctor, depending on what's going on, with you. And so you shared the story with me, and I read that story in excruciating pain, thinking about it, about the council person who murdered his mom and then took a gun and murdered himself because he could not overcome the bombardment of medical bills he was receiving for his mother. And so when you think about us at our ages, right, we're thinking about self-care. But we're also moving in a space that we have to start thinking about care of our parents, right? Because our parents' insurances are not adequate for what they're going through and what they're doing. And so we're now having to bring them into our homes and reestablish what we're doing at home and providing care for them because we can't absorb the cost of the medical fees, the care fees, the medicine fees, the having a great job that gives you the ability to be flexible. Think about back in the day when someone had to work from 9 to 5 and they didn't get paid when they didn't work, right? Now, good, bad, right? The bad of COVID is that COVID took out a lot of people. The good of COVID, it literally has changed the working culture, right? And so people are more flexible and can move and not only take care of their kids, but their parents are a part of that, as well. And so the dental insurance is something that I've never focused on before as an advocacy piece of my work, because it's not just about telling people to take better care of themselves, but they have to take better care of themselves in context to the ability of their total life experience and their ability to pay bills and ability to be flexible also has to be taken into account.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, Kenny, I know you're raising a son, you're raising a young man. What lessons do you hope to impart on your son as it relates to specifically dental care, but also just healthcare in general? Because I know you're raising a
Hmm.
man child, man. What lessons
Yeah.
do you hope you can impart to him as it relates to dental care?
Learn behaviors. He's got to see it to know it. Like, so now he's walking with me through this journey, and I'm having these conversations with him very quietly. And I'm saying, hey, dude, like, you don't want these problems. I was like, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, brushing your teeth, flossing, all of those things, and trying to create that habit in him now so that when he becomes an adult, it is a habit for him. And my nephew, the same thing in the house. It's like, listen, I need y'all to kind of focus on some things that's extremely important and doesn't feel important to you now because you feel like you're young. You feel like you can absorb anything. If you fall on the ground, you bounce faster, you heal faster. One of the running jokes with my peer groups today is, now our kids are 16, 17, 18, lower 20s, and they want to get in the driveway and play basketball with me, and they want me to play at full speed with them. I'm like, no, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe, because I've heard too many stories of guys that know they shouldn't be in the driveway trying to dunk on their kids, tearing their Achilles, right? And so at 23, you can recover from that in 6 months. At 63, it might be 6 years before I recover from it, if I ever recover from it, right? And so you just have to be more intentional, about the movement of your body. And you have to in learn behavior and in modeling, say to your kids that, getting older is an inevitability. You're going to get older. You're not going to always be young. Be young, have fun being young, be happy being young, but take some of that youth time and invest in yourself in a way that when you get older, you're not where I am. And so I think that he really understands that. He thinks about his calorie consumption. He thinks about his sugar consumption. He thinks about when he's eating. He does not drink sodas. He does not eat candies. He does not, my wife is, um, the non-pork person in the house. He does not eat pork. And so all of that is as a result of watching his parents eat healthy and live a particular way with respect to our health. And not only that, he sees us going to the doctor frequently, right? And so, but at the same time, and out in here, he is an athlete, 6'4", varsity basketball, He does believe that he can do anything his mind wills him, to do. And then there's the manhood component that comes in where you want your son to be strong and you want him to be aggressive and you want him to be all of these things on the court. And how do you get him to manage understanding the difference between when you're hurt and when you're injured? That's our conversation today, that there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. You can play through hurt. But what I don't want you to play through is injury. Like if something is wrong, that needs to be halted, stopped, taken care of. Hurt, you can play through to the extent you can play through it. And so it keeps his manhood intact on the floor amongst his other peers, who would oftentimes back in the day be encouraged to continue to play when they're injured. And if you know enough about NFL players, NBA players, and all professional sports players that back in the day played when they were injured, you can see the impact of that today when they're older in the way that they move, the health issues they have, and all of them are associated with some injury that they played through when they should not have played through it.
Powerful, powerful. And so, Kenny, we're going to be winding down shortly, but there's going to be some questions, coming in from people in the building. For example, one question is, can you define what hurt is and what injury is again? They just want a little bit of clarity around your idea around the difference between being hurt and being injured.
Hurt for my son is my legs are tired. I don't feel like running. My arm feels funny. It's like, well, is there something wrong with your legs? Is there muscle pull? Is there muscle strain? No, I'm just tired. Well, that may be levels of hurt, right? Or we've seen players play basketball, fall on the court and tweak your ankle, right? We've all tweaked our ankle. And it pulls a little bit, but it's not really injured. It's just hurting at the time. But if it's injured, you know what injury looks like. Injury doesn't allow you to recover quickly. In hurt, you can get up and say, okay, if I play through this and, we heard this, walk it out, walk it out. We're talking about Charlie horses and cramps and things like that. Walk it out, walk it out. And if you walk it out and it feels better and it's good, then you were hurt, but you weren't injured. But if you fall down and you pull something, you tear something, you break something, you do any of those other things, those are injuries that take a much longer time for repair. And if it takes physician interference in saying that something is wrong with you that needs to be repaired and takes time to be repaired, now you're injured. But oftentimes we allow, look at some of the old football players and look at their fingers and their hands. Munoz is a perfect example. I always forget his first name. He used to play for the Bears, I believe. Anthony Munoz. He was an offensive lineman. If you ever see Anthony Munoz talk with his hands, you'll notice that on this pinky on his hand is literally turned this way on his hand. His 5 fingers are up like this, and his pinky finger is turned that way. And he said he broke it in a game and they wanted to fix it. And he said, no, don't fix it. I'm still going to play. He was playing injured. That wasn't hurt. That was injured. That was something physically wrong with his body that he never took care of. And now he has been retired for many, many, many years. And as a result of not taking care of that finger, when you're going to pro-line, they would have popped it back in. It would have dislocated. They would have wrapped it up. They would have went through physical therapy and his hand would have been normal. But because he played through injury and it wasn't just hurt, now that's a part of his life today. That's the difference in my mind between hurt and injured.
And so, Kenny, as we circle back to dental care and particularly Black men or just men in general, given what you have gone through, and I was very happy to see you post some very thought-provoking videos on social media that a lot of people responded to kind of watching your journey unfold over the last couple of months as it relates to this major dental surgery that you received. What's the what advice, man, do we have for the men out here, man?
Don't take your body for granted. Don't take your life for granted. Um, in essence, to not take care of yourself, particularly when you have children and family, in my mind's eye, is the most selfish act you can engage in because your life isn't just about you. The obligation of taking care of myself is so that my son doesn't make it to the NBA and on draft day, he's got to speak to me in past tense.
Mm.
I need to be in the room when he speaks about me. And the only way that I'm going to be in the room when he speaks about me is to take care of myself to extend my life so I am there. I don't want him going through his professional career looking up to the sky saying that my father is looking down on me. I want to be Halliburton's dad. I want to be John Morant's dad. I'm not going to be on the court acting crazy. Who knows? I don't know. I might be on the court acting crazy. But I need my son to interact with me in that manner, right? Because we've seen players across the spectrum who had dads who passed away in the apex of their career. Michael Jordan is probably the one that stands out the most for me right now because losing his father impacted him greatly. And so I think it is not taking advantage of your health. Don't be selfish with your health. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, if for no other reason that you owe your life to your children. You owe your life to your family. You don't want your life, you don't want people to remember you in a grieving state. You want them to know you in a celebratory state.
Thank you, Kenny. Given the robust work that Fathers Incorporated is doing across the country with fathers, do you envision um, doing more work in the advocacy space around men's health, particularly as it relates to dental care? Given what you've gone through over the last couple of months, do you see that being an additional body of work that Fathers Incorporated wants to be a champion of?
Right now, it's difficult for me to look at the advocacy side because I think the work for us is in the cultural perspective side. And that is changing the culture of how men think about health. Forget about the advocacy
Mm.
piece because the advocacy piece ain't got nothing to do with you getting up in the morning, running 10 miles, lifting some weights, being active for 30 minutes. Advocacy don't stop you from doing that, but cultural perspective does. And so until we change cultural perspective with respect to how we think about our health, advocacy is never going to have an impact on it. Now, that's not all of us, right? Because some of us are at ages where advocacy is having an impact on us. And so the question is, what are those things and how can we begin to lift our voices in a way to get people to be more convinced to be a little more responsive and caring and compassionate to those who are at the more seasoned stages of their lives and they don't have the ability to do those things, right? And then you have kind of the other things that are part of our lexicon now, that I don't remember these words or these issues being a part, or at least they were a part of our lives in different ways. You're hearing more about our children with autism, right? That wasn't a term in the 70s and 80s, right? It looked differently. It probably existed, but we have to start thinking about what are the causes to those things? Is it an eating habit? Is it something that we should be doing differently? What's going on in those spaces? And then the other one for our more seasoned people is um, Alzheimer and dementia, right? Like, why is this such a cultural phenomenon now with our more seasoned people? Where now I know even at my age, I forget things, but I forget things because I'm just thinking too much. I got too many things on my mind, and I do forget things. But there is a normal pathway of not remembering as many things as you used to remember. And then there's this accelerated, right, pace to which our more seasoned folks are beginning to one day they can remember, every scripture in the Bible, and the next day they can't even tell you, three books of the Bible. That's of concern. And so I'm not all sure whether or not that is, again, an advocacy issue or a cultural perspective issue, which is what is it that we need to do and change in our health behaviors that can improve the health of our communities and families in a way that advocacy cannot.
So Kenny, let's question, given the national landscape in terms of the work being done with fathers and men, what would you like to see from programs that are in direct service with men? What would you like to see?
So for our program in Gentle Words Academy, we do a great job at connecting the skill set that they are trying to obtain in being great fathers to being responsible human beings in the lives of their families. And so everything that you do, even their attendance in our classes, again, I talk about this selfish act. Like, you are in our classes not just because you want to become a better father, but you're in our classes because you want to become a better father for your children, right? It is always connected to the main thing. And so we do a lot of ensuring that as we are talking about life skills, whether it's responsibility, integrity, radical accountability, whatever we're talking to them about, it is always connected to the end goal, which is to be there for their children. Like, we talk about, something very simple. It's radical when you hear it, but it's very simple in terms of its application. And this is just a change of mindset, right? Again, I'm kind of easing back into this mental space because in some spaces, this is where this is important, where we're talking to our dads in general about, you cannot hate her more than you love your children. Th- that cannot happen. You cannot dislike her more than you like your children. Like, if you love your children in some way, you have to love her no matter what your relationship is. You don't have to be in a relationship to have a relationship. When you have children, your relationship with her and your co-parent is lifelong, even if your children are not around for it. I've seen tons and tons of couples who are not together but have lost children and still connected and bound by having this child. And so when you extend what you're doing with fathers in direct services to connect them to the main thing and make sure that that is a part of your curriculum, is part of your conversation, is part of the skill set of your facilitators, your case managers, your navigators, your program managers, your project managers, your evaluators, your researchers, everybody who's in your infrastructure should understand that while you're doing the X's and O's of your service delivery, that this is still a human work. We are still dealing with humans, and there still needs to be a connection with respect to who we're dealing with, to ensure that the reason that they understand the reason that they're in the space is not just for their own sake, it is for the sake of their children. And I think, again, to me, that is a cultural perspective shift. It's fine to have a evidence-based curriculum. It's fine, to do great in recruitment. It's fine to do all of those things. But if you're not impacting people in a personal way, and you're not connecting with them in a personal way, those individuals will leave your programs changed, but they will not leave your programs transformed.
Well, Kenny, we want to thank you for helping us kick off this webinar, really talking about an issue that just is not talked about enough when we talk about healthcare. We want to thank you for your candor, your transparency in terms of what you've gone through. And many of us have talked to you over the last couple of months and seen some of your videos, and you've been, extremely honest about the pain, that you've gone through, and the weight loss, and learning how to talk again, and learning how to eat again, as it relates to getting major reconstruction of your mouth as it relates to dental care. And so once again, man, we just want to thank you for helping us kick this off. Again, we thought it was, really important to hear from somebody. I mean, we could have brought on a dentist, but we thought it was really important to hear from a Black man who has a very personal story as it relates to, dental care. And we hope that the folks that are in the building and the folks that will watch this in its entirety will think more critically about dental care and begin to host conversations with other Black men of all ages around the importance of healthcare, particularly as it relates to dentistry. So once again, Kenny, just want to thank you, man, for coming on, spending a little bit of time with us this morning, and may you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. No, I'm here for the duration. I want to be a part of this. Appreciate all of you as well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. You've been listening to I Am Dad podcast. We hope that you have been informed, encouraged you to think, or even inspired your heart for the love of dads. The conversation does not end here. Come back and join us next week. Same time, same place. Or you can continue the dialogue on our I Am Dad Facebook page. We also invite you to listen to past episodes, learn more about us, and keep up with special activities by visiting IamDadPodcast.com. That's IamDadPodcast.com. Until next time, I leave you with this reminder of manhood from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Because of this reminder, I will always understand that I am dad, period.